Hey gamers, welcome back to 144 FPS Games, the channel where pixels meet passion and reviews get real. Today we're unraveling the intricate weave of Eternal Strands, a game that ambitiously blends elements of Breath of the Wild, Shadow of the Colossus, and even a touch of Dragon Age. Intrigued? You should be. In this video, we'll cover everything gameplay, story, world design, combat, and even performance across platforms. Plus, we'll talk replayability and, of course, finish with the pros and cons so you can decide if Eternal Strands deserves a spot in your gaming library. Oh, and stick around, there's a little surprise toward the end that might just make you laugh. Quick question, if you had to combine your favorite game mechanics into one mega game, what would it look like? Let me know in the comments below. And don't go anywhere, we're just getting started. A quick cut to a hilarious moment of a player's character getting smacked by a giant enemy. Spoiler alert, this might happen to you too. Stay humble. So what's the deal with Eternal Strands? Available on PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC, this game drops you into a sprawling open world filled with towering beasts, intricate puzzles, and a narrative that ties everything together in, you guessed it, strands. The story follows a mysterious protagonist navigating a land torn apart by elemental forces and ancient secrets. No spoilers, but let's just say it's a classic tale of power, choice, and sacrifice. And yes, it does lean heavily on some familiar tropes, but there are enough twists to keep things interesting. The game wastes no time in immersing you with its tutorial, seamlessly blending into the narrative. The opening hours set the tone, a mix of exploration, combat, and fun, with a hidden layer that feels dark in the same way the Innervane Valley ideally is a limited ecosystem for the king missionaries, zodiac killers, and quiet moments where you can just soak in the world's beauty. But does the gameplay live up to the hype? Let's dive in. Gameplay is where Eternal Strands shines and stumbles, but mostly shines. At its core, this is an open world action adventure game with a strong emphasis on exploration and combat. The game encourages you to experiment with elemental abilities which tie directly into both puzzle solving and fighting. Trabe Valley is a highlight. Whether you're gliding through the air, scaling massive cliffs, or swimming across shimmering lakes, the world feels vast and alive. But it's not just about getting from point A to point B. It's about what you discover along the way. Secret caves, hidden challenges, and lore-rich artifacts are everywhere, rewarding players who stray off the beaten path. Combat, on the other hand, is a mixed bag. It's fluid and satisfying when everything clicks, especially during boss fights against the game's massive Colossus-like enemies. Each fight feels like a test of skill and strategy, requiring you to exploit elemental weaknesses and time your moves perfectly. However, smaller skirmishes can sometimes feel repetitive, especially if you've already mastered the elemental abilities. Fun fact, if you accidentally set yourself on fire with your own ability, you're not alone. Happens to the best of us. Now let's talk about the world Eternal Strands. It's visually stunning. From lush forests to barren wastelands and ancient ruins, every location feels handcrafted. The art direction leans into a painterly aesthetic, making every frame screenshot worthy. The game also does a great job of weaving its world building into exploration. You'll find environmental storytelling everywhere, whether it's through decayed statues hinting at a fallen civilization, or the subtle changes in the weather that mirror the story's tone. What really stands out is how alive the world feels. Wildlife scurries around, weather shifts dynamically, and NPCs offer small but meaningful interactions. That said, some areas do feel a bit underutilized. While the world is big, not every corner is as densely packed with content as you'd hope, but does the world's beauty translate into a smooth gameplay experience? Let's talk performance. Performance is a key factor for any game of this scale, and Eternal Strands delivers mostly on PS5 and Xbox Series X. The game runs at a steady 60 FPS with occasional dips during more chaotic scenes. The PC version, while stunning at max settings, can be a bit demanding. Make sure your rig is up to the task. Load times are impressively short on consoles thanks to SSDs, and there are no major bugs that break immersion. However, minor glitches like enemies getting stuck or animations desyncing can pull you out of the experience. While not game-breaking, they're noticeable enough to mention. And yes, I did fall through the map once. No, I don't want to talk about it. Replayability is where Eternal Strands truly excels. The game's branching narrative and moral choices encourage multiple playthroughs. Plus, the elemental abilities allow for different playstyles, keeping things fresh. There's also plenty of side content, optional bosses, secret dungeons, and collectibles that flesh out the lore. And if you're a completionist, the game's achievement system is robust enough to keep you busy for hours. On top of that, the developers have hinted at potential updates and expansions, so there's a chance this already sprawling game could grow even larger. But is all this enough to outweigh the game's flaws? Let's break it down. All right, here's the moment of truth. The pros and cons. Pros: stunning world design with a unique art style, engaging exploration and rewarding secrets. Elemental abilities add depth to combat and puzzles, branching narrative with high replayability. Memorable boss fights. Cons: repetitive, smaller encounters, some underutilized areas in the open world, occasional performance hiccups and minor bugs. So does Eternal Strands live up to its ambitious vision? In many ways, yes. It's a game that dares to weave multiple genres into a single experience, and while it doesn't always stick the landing, it's undeniably worth your time. For joining me on this deep dive into Eternal Strands. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more reviews and gaming content. And before you go, check out my review of Orcs Must Die Death Trap, linked right here on the end screen. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Until next time, keep gaming and stay curious.